Hello friends, welcome back to The Brightest again. I'm your host, Mr. Bright. Did you know that astronauts living in space have to process their own urine and drink it when they're thirsty? Gross. Yeah, right. And not just that, farting on Earth might be a normal thing. Nice. But that same fart in space is like a ticking time bomb, which can literally kill you. But how? Well, before I give you the answer to this, tell me, did you know that after brushing their teeth, astronauts don't spit the toothpaste, but instead
they just swallow the toothpaste?
Ew. Why? Well, if you are so curious to know the answers as to how astronauts go about their daily lives in space, then let's not waste any more time and get on with today's video, titled 6 Things We Do Differently on the International Space Station. But before we move forward with this video, aren't you guys wondering that if there is no gravity in space, then how do astronauts live there for months? I'll tell you how. So, basically, zero gravity is the absence of gravity in space, and many think that this zero gravity is also present in the ISS. But that's not true. In fact, there is a little amount of gravity in the ISS, which is known as microgravity. And this microgravity comes from Earth's gravitational pull, as the ISS is only 400 kilometers away from Earth. Hence, the amount of gravity on the ISS equals Earth's gravity, but 90% less. But that absence of 10% gravity equals 90% of Earth's gravity. But that absence of 10% gravity is what makes things and astronauts float on the ISS. So, imagine, how do astronauts do their daily routines when everything around them and they themselves are endlessly floating? Aren't you curious to know? If yes, then let's start with the easiest task in our lives, brushing our teeth. Number 1, brushing. On Earth, brushing is like an unconscious habit for us, but as easy as it seems for us, brushing in space is actually very difficult. As I told you before, astronauts have to swallow their spit after brushing their teeth. But now you must be thinking, how does brushing your teeth here in space differ? Well, this is where microgravity comes into the picture. And like everything on the ISS, it applies to toothpaste too. Toothpaste comes in half solid form and half liquid form, which can float while brushing teeth in space. And to avoid this, the astronauts only use a foamless toothpaste. This toothpaste is kept in a small pouch where the opening of this pouch is like a small tube, which on opening falls perfectly onto the brush, rather than falling here and there. Just look at how Sunita Williams is brushing her teeth. I mean, even if the toothpaste is removed, while holding it upside down, it will still stick onto the brush. And to answer your question as to why astronauts swallow their spit, is that if they spit the toothpaste, it will create a lot of mess and will keep floating around the space station. And for the astronauts who feel gross or are unable to swallow it, they spit it into tissues or a towel. But since the resources in space are very limited, most astronauts just swallow the spit. And also, there's no harm in swallowing the toothpaste, as it is edible and won't harm their bodies. Number 2, peeing. Nature's call is natural, so it doesn't matter if you are on Earth or in space. You have to go. You have got to attend to it. But you'll be surprised to know that in the early 1960s, when NASA sent its first astronaut to space, they forgot to pay attention to this call. Due to this, astronaut Alan Shepard peed his pants during the launch process in 1961. And learning from this mistake, NASA introduced pee bags and diapers for astronauts. Not just that, they also introduced a pee pipe in which astronauts can urinate. And the pipe looks something like this. It is attached to a big 2 to 3 foot rubber tube vacuum chamber that is connected to suction fans that pull the urine into the pipe. But the astronauts have to be very careful during this process, because even if a single drop of pee goes out of line, then it can lead to the drop to go inside someone's eye. Ugh! And I can't even imagine how gross that could be. Anyway, as I told you, the astronauts have to drink the same water they pee. As there is a shortage of water in space, astronauts process their urine and use it for drinking. This process is called water recovery system, which is based on a basic scientific principle of forward osmosis. This purification is very similar to the water purifier that we have at home. In this machine, wastewater is passed through a semi-permeable membrane, which only allows the water molecules to pass, keeping the other solute particles intact, which as a result cleans the water and keeps the impurities at bay. Number 3. Potty. Friends, like everyone else, even poop floats in microgravity. And just imagine if a piece of poop comes out of the commode, floats, and touches someone's face. Oh, that is so gross. But where exactly does poop go in space? Well, it all goes here, in this world's smallest commode. This is the ISS space station's toilet, which is also known as zero gravity toilet. But beware, before sitting on this toilet, one should aim properly at the hole, as the hole of the toilet is very small. Otherwise, the waste particles will start to float in the air, which can prove to be very harmful and also very disgusting. And as I told you before, farting in the space station can be like a ticking time bomb. I mean, if you fart on Earth, the foul smell will quickly dissipate in the atmosphere and will quickly disappear. But as we all know, our farts contain methane, which is highly inflammable. And with no exit point, farting in the space station will lead these flammable gases to stay on board forever. Also, to stop the fart, the diet of the astronauts does not consist of frozen dried beans. And even if they want to fart, they use a funnel kind of object which is attached to the vacuum in the toilet that sucks the air to avoid it from spreading into different directions. Number 4. Shower. Well, friends, you would be shocked to know that astronauts literally don't have a bath for 6 months. Why? Because there are no showers in the space station. So then what do? Do they just not bathe for months and be stinky all the time? Well, let me burst your bubble and tell you that for bathing, astronauts tend to prefer the old school style of bathing, dry showers. Basically, because water too would float in space, they use towels to absorb the water and then pat their bodies dry with it. Apart from this, they also use non-foaming shampoos so that they don't create any foam while washing their hair. And even more, astronauts shave in space by using electric razors that are attached to a vacuum so that none of the hair flies off in space. Number 5. Eating food. Eating food is no different in space as it is on Earth. As it is, the astronauts in space are also required to consume 3 meals a day, i.e. breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And to ensure astronauts get their sufficient share of vitamins and minerals from these meals, nutritionists try their level best to maintain these on their menu. Well, some foods like fruits and brownies are eaten naturally in their natural form, but you'll be surprised to know that some food items, like meat, are also available for eating in space. And as meat requires water and heat to be fully cooked, you would find an oven aboard the ISS. Not only this, salt and pepper are also available in liquid form. This is because if salt and pepper are consumed in solid form, then its particles will start to float in space. I mean, there is a logic behind everything over here. But you'll also be surprised to know that every astronaut prefers to eat extra spicy and saltier food in space, as microgravity nullifies all the taste buds in the mouth. The reason for this is that in the confines of such a small space like the space station, the food competes with all other odors in the station, e.g. body odor, machinery, etc. And that also dulls the senses of the taste. The sense of smell is very important to taste food, due to which the astronauts prefer to have extra spicy food so that they can enjoy their meals. Number 6. Sleeping. This is how astronauts sleep in space. Well, they don't have a spacious, lavish, personal bedroom aboard, but they do get a small room for sleeping. But astronauts have a tight, rigid schedule aboard the space station, and they have to compulsorily sleep for only 8 hours. But it is quite difficult for them to even sleep properly for 6 hours, because astronauts have reported having nightmares and waking up feeling oxygen deprived and gasping for air, because sleeping accommodations need to be well ventilated, and there should be a good amount of oxygen present. But if this doesn't happen, even brain cells can start to die within 5 minutes due to lack of oxygen. I mean, seriously, look at how the astronauts struggle to get a good night's sleep in space, which is why everyone should respect these astronauts for losing their sleep and working for the betterment of mankind. So friends, these are just some of the interesting things that astronauts do in space. Who would have ever thought that it could be so difficult? What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to our channel. Until next time, toodles!